playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'd make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on the start of the NFL season. We are with you here on SportsGrid all the way up until kickoff, or right before. We're going to, of course, get our in-game live crew in at the top, or not of this hour, but of the next hour, so they will give you their picks for tonight's game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. We have 90 minutes to break down an NFC East showdown with Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott taking center stage for their respective teams. This is a number that has been on the move since we had the schedule release. At times, we saw this at a flat 7. We saw this even underneath a touchdown at 6.5, with, of course, the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at home for this football game. But the number continued to climb, and it only climbed higher as the Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones rift grew louder and louder, and it's now, with Micah Parsons, a Green Bay Packer, a line that is over a touchdown anywhere you look. The top of this number is 8.5. A number that is still out there, undoubtedly. But it is not an 8.5 everywhere. We have more 8s than 8.5 in the market. We even have a 7.5 out there. I know the thought is probably 7.5, 8, 8.5. What's the difference? 2-point conversions can factor in. You always want to make sure that you get the best of the numbers. So you just try and factor that in as much as possible. But what an incredible setup we have here tonight. Because the Dallas Cowboys enter this game in a role with Dak Prescott under quarterback you don't see. They are a scrappy, don't really have a chance, maybe they can shock the world underdog. America's team. That's the description. But Dallas last year had another down season. They have these more than you would expect. And that down season is not just about Dak Prescott being injured. Dak played the first 8 games of the season. They were 3-5. Dallas at one point last year was 7-8. So I'm not saying they're better without Dak. What I'm saying is Dak Prescott was bad last year. The big story, it felt, of Dallas were the defensive disappointments, though. And that's how we get to this situation. Because a defense that even if Micah Parsons was fully available for, which, again, even if he was still on the Cowboys roster, I'm not sure we would be breaking down a defense with Micah Parsons in the mix, right? Even if that Micah was there, we would worry about the defense. Without Parsons, I think that this could arguably project as the worst defense in the league. I think it's bottom 5. I don't trust anyone else on this defense. I know there are some guys in the secondary that have had big years and been paid. But Deron Bland and even Trevon Diggs, they are ball hawks. They are opportunists. And maybe they could make Jalen Hurts pay for a mistake tonight. But they do not win on a rep-to-rep basis. They win with splash plays and splash moments. But those felt fleeting with Dan Quinn no longer the DC in Dallas and taking over the Washington Commanders. So there are nothing but questions and concerns around the defense. So where could you find Dallas optimism against the defending Super Bowl champions? You find it through the Dallas offense. Because Dallas still has Dak Prescott, who can put up big numbers and big points, and we've seen that in his career. In 2019, he nearly threw for 5,000 yards and 30 passing touchdowns. He has another season with 37 passing touchdowns and 4,500 yards, and another season with 36 passing touchdowns and 4,500 yards. And the 36 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions was just 2 years ago in 2023 when some believed Dak deserved league MVP. And while Dak is not surrounded with the greatest team he's ever had, because Dak entered into a pretty great situation when he became the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, it's a pretty good one. Because CeeDee Lamb is a consensus top 5 wide receiver in football, and I think George Pickens is a lot more than a... George Pickens is a guy that some have tried to tear down the value of the addition. Oh, come on, Jerry, what a mistake. I know wide receivers that leave the Steelers typically don't succeed. I think Pickens is different. He was only there for 3 years. He's 24, and he never had good enough quarterback play. You know, they seemingly time right the departure in Pittsburgh. They just couldn't see eye to eye with Pickens. And I think Dallas... I also think occasionally guys leave Pittsburgh with fine reputations, then they leave, and then we go, oh, wait a minute, there's problems here. We kind of know the story with Pickens, and I think it's had him on his best behavior. So the pass-catching room, also aided by Jake Ferguson, one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league, has enough. The running backs are terrible. We know that. Javonte Williams can't be your starter. Perhaps eventually the rookie Jaden Blue will be, who, while at Texas, flashed quite a bit. And again, I think that's going to be the hope for Dallas as the season goes on. Who knows, maybe even as early as tonight. But the offensive line should be fine enough to give Dak time to hang against a defense that does have turnover. I do think occasionally we've heard the Philadelphia Eagles defensive turnover overstated, but there is turnover. They lost veterans. They have youngsters they believe in, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. So Philly's more than fine rolling out the guys that they are. But there's a lot of questions around CB2 within the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Adoree Jackson, Sidney Brown, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out who is it going to be. And that could allow George Pickens to have himself a really good night. But the reality for Philly is there are still guys, not just Coop, not just DeJean, but the defensive front. The Georgia Bulldogs, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. Last year, a top 3 DPOY finisher in Zach Bond returns in the middle. There's still plenty to like on the defensive side for Philly. But if you're betting Philly, that's a part of the puzzle. You're betting it because of the offense. Because the offensive line is nearly all back aside from Mekhi Becton. The wide receiver room is all back. And A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, even Dotson and Goddard all stayed. And at the top, you return the reigning offensive player of the year in Saquon Barkley and the Super Bowl MVP in Jalen Hurts. And maybe tonight the Philadelphia Eagles show that the talk around last year was last year, this year is this year, and they stay pedal to the metal. Because Philadelphia, in their final 2 games last year, scored 95 points, NFC Championship game and Super Bowl. The Eagles' 4-game playoff run are the most points actually scored in a single postseason. So perhaps with Jalen Hurts and a little extra confidence and Saquon Barkley and a little more familiarity, the Eagles run Dallas off the field. But the reason that my best bet tonight is the Dallas Cowboys plus 8.5, aside from being the most unbiased man in the history of sports media, you can't really be surprised, is because no matter how many Philly scores, at some point, they might put it in park and slow down. And Dak Prescott loves nothing more than engineering a fake comeback. Factor in, we have a divisional game to start the season, which is an occasional rarity, and I think tonight plays closer than the spread suggests. We'll continue to break it down with you here on Game Time Decisions.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions live with you here on this Thursday night. As I said, best bet for me, it's Dallas plus the 8.5. Our crew involved in the best bet market, you know that. Chris is going to go with a little two-step here. CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith, 60 for Lamb, 40 for Smith, gets plus 121 on that action. Sam takes a Cowboys team total at 19.5. I got to respect it from Pat. By the way, double birthday shout out. Yes, it is both Sam and Pat's birthday, so those balloons are appropriate. Pat said, don't worry, not really all too concerned with the football tonight. I'll take the Yanks on the money line in their matchup with the Houston Astros. And over the next 15 minutes, I'll probably work in a little bit of baseball because it is a decent enough slate. It does feature Paul Skeens, who is always ridiculous, but in his last 5 starts at home, I believe is pitching to a .58 ERA. Again, we can get there with the help of one half of pro baseball today, which has since ended, and now one half of college football today, one half of the early line, and the man himself, Donnie Rightside, here on the start of another NFL season. DRS, how are you?
Look, half man, half amazing was not Vince Carter. It was your boy DRS all along here, Kevin. You just didn't know it. I'm ready to go. The Eagles are playing tonight. And by the way, on those picks, did I see a team total as one of those best bets? Fantastic. Did I see an alt parlay to knock down some of those numbers with a little bit of plus money? Boys are learning back there. I love it, man. Ooh,
I got to say, I almost feel like it's really just a Donnie card. There's a baseball pick in there. Yeah. DRS, I actually want to start with what, most people, give me your best bet. What do you think about the side?
Yep.
But tonight is a night where I think someone like yourself kind of eats in that sports books are going promotion wild. No sweats, booze. Hey, Saquon to score. Even money, or hey, Hurts to score, plus 120. How are you kind of, it's almost, WrestleMania, this is kind of boost mania tonight here, the start of the NFL season. How are you taking that all in? I'm sure your boys at 365 are popping off too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If anybody followed me on Twitter today, Bet365, congratulations to your boy DRS. He's allowed $1 now to bet on the prop bets that are Super Boost. Used to be $120, used to be $100, used to be $75. So I'm down to $100. So I will place a $1 wager on Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown tonight. That's where I'm at. But no, if you're out there and you have Boost, it is a fantastic time. And Kevin will bring up it as well. When you saw like the state of New York, FanDuel, DraftKings all came into it. They're just looking to get your money. That's what they're doing now. There is free money across the marketplace tonight if they let you bet more than 10 or 15 bucks. What a night across the sports landscape, Kevin.
Yeah, there are some, I know it varies for every user, right? So that is the tricky thing. And I think it ultimately then is, what are they allowing you, right? There are some books who are out there, Donnie, I saw doing, hey, listen, just get a parlay to even money, 50% boost, max $200 bet. And for people like, wow, this is for amazing. Same book, people like, $10 bet. And I know that's going to dictate it for some people, right? But it also gives you a chance to wet your beak in a night like this. Because I think the Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie, are a perfect example of how tricky the prop market can be. Where a part of me goes, I'm sure Hurts will get in there. Maybe they're going to want to throw it a little bit more. They might want to get it to AJ. And then you start to realize, okay, they don't score 28. We're not going to make some money here. Like, it's tricky to find our way. Where are you on how the Eagles tonight will look to attack Dallas?
I love it because there's so many options, and Kevin's bringing up such a great point right here. Their team total is like 28.5. Oh, it should be easy. It's 4. Man, there are so many people that could score touchdowns. So I just kept it simple. You know what I love, Kevin? Over 1.5 rushing touchdowns for the Philadelphia Eagles at a minus 140 price. Donnie, why would you do that? Don't hurt yourself. We were on the set last year multiple times where Saquon got down to the 1 at any time touchdown, and there went the tush push. Anytime touchdown for, obviously, Jalen Hurts on the ground. Same thing for Saquon Barkley. As I said, run a reverse to A.J. Brown and he goes in. Just give me 2 rushing touchdowns, or I think the Philadelphia Eagles will do that. Makes more sense to me, Kevin, then you're not getting plus money. What do you get? Minus 200 for a Saquon touchdown, minus 165 for Jalen Hurts. Take that out of the equation. Just have 2 rushing touchdowns. I think it gets there. But also, if you're playing the wide receiver position, make no mistake about it, there will be at least 1 touchdown pass from the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So when I look at the 2 big-time wide receivers, Kevin, I was looking at FanDuel a little bit earlier, plus 164 on A.J. Brown, plus 196 on Devontae Smith. One of those 2 guys, Kevin, is catching a touchdown. I took them both tonight saying, if the ball is in the air, one of those 2 guys getting it, I don't want to be disappointed by saying, I think it's going to be Devontae. I think it's going to be A.J. Just take them both at the nice plus money number. One of them scores, you love it. Both of them score. Boy, that's a nice night, Kevin.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see because they're not directly next to one another. But Devonta and AJ are somewhat close, I feel, Donnie, even in the yardage market there. There's not a world of separation. I think it's because AJ's not going to get posted at 85-90 because they're not banking on Philly throwing that much. And they're not going to post Devonta at 35-40 because they know he's way too talented. There's a wide receiver duo on the other side of the field that's new, but it's still really talented. In CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, are you looking to get involved with either one of those guys? Do you trust those guys tonight?
I trust those guys, but I trust more Dak Prescott. If you're betting the Dallas Cowboys tonight, your pathway to victory isn't your running backs. It's Dak Prescott. So I say to myself, over 1.5 touchdown passes at a plus money number. He said, well, Donnie, just take CeeDee Lamb. I don't know who's going to score the touchdowns, but I know if Dallas is competitive tonight and stays within that number, Dak can't have one touchdown. Dak has one touchdown pass tonight. They get blown out by 21 points. The passing game is the indicator. Do I love CeeDee Lamb? I think he gets his, yes, but there are some really good cornerbacks for the Eagles. Pickens has a great chance to go one-on-one and catch a touchdown, but I'm just saying to myself, if you're betting the Dallas Cowboys, you better be betting Dak Prescott tonight. And I think the best price point is the over 1.5 touchdowns at plus money. If he doesn't throw 2 touchdowns, Dallas gets wasted tonight, Kevin.
I think it's really interesting because the Cowboys running back room, there are some running backs like Washington. Nobody seems to know who's actually going to be the guy, right? Is it,
Correct.
Big Bill Merritt, Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez? Dallas isn't as confusing. It's that nobody believes it's going to be Javonte Williams because he's now on a 2-year run of barely averaging over 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's under 2-1 for Javonte Williams. Now, again, it's eye of the beholder. Are you arguing, I'm getting a starting running back at plus 180, or are you going, getting Javonte Williams at under plus 200? I think those are the tight ropes that you try and walk here when you're betting in the touchdown market. Again, more clarity, though, is certainly to come. Donnie's not going to go just yet. I do want to get his final thoughts on this football game, but a quick pop over to the Major League Baseball board because although it's not loaded, got a couple of good ones, including the Yankees and the Astros. Next right here, it's Game Time Decision.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college
what about
kids.
college basketball? Do those
they're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I promise we will get to the baseball before we let DRS get on his way. We're here with, of course, Donnie Rightside. Catch Donnie every morning, Monday through Friday, right here on SportsGrid on the early line. New start time, 7 to 9, a replay if you aren't up early enough. That's 9 to 11, leading right into the brand new Craig Carton show, which debuted here on SportsGrid. Donnie will also have you covered on Saturday with college football today. I just have to quickly, Donnie, before we talk a little baseball, I'm hearing on the streets, a book posted a Saquon even money touchdown, and then what? Took too many bets on it and ran scared? Can you confirm? Can you deny? What's the story here?
I'm right on Fanatics right now, and I still see kickoff Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown versus the Dallas Cowboys at a plus 100 price.
Are you logged in?
It says it's still. I am logged in right now. Yeah,
and you can get in there. All right.
Yeah.
Looks well. Apparently, for some of the guys in the back, they took it away.
Try to rush in here. Yeah, come on now.
They took it away from some of the boys in the back, which is a tough scene.
I think that's a bell work zap from the people up top. Like, these guys better stop betting to get their heads back in the GTD, people. I think that's what's
oh man.
There. Yeah.
So, Donnie, let me just ask you this as well, because I think everyone knows this, but it's the time of year where many people are going to hand wave the baseball board. I feel like not for you. You've had yourself a great baseball season. You've been dialed in throughout this Major League Baseball season. And I imagine that status stays the same, even though now we have football, essentially 24/7.
Let me tell you this about Major League Baseball. If you are a side bettor, there's no harder month to bet than September. Because if you're like, oh, let me take an underdog, Kevin, and go, well, we're going to try the new guys out in the 8th and the 9th inning. Oh, would have loved to known that before the game. Now my closer's not going to close out. I'm up 1 run. That turns into a loss. Same thing about teams' motivation. But the one thing you never can underestimate is these guys get paid. Pitchers don't go out there and go, you know what, Kevin, last 3 starts, give me a 9 ERA. I don't care anymore. No, they pitch as hard as they can. Batters the same way. Let me strike out every at-bat in September. I just want to get to Las Vegas for a vacation. They don't do that. So if you're a team total bettor or you're looking at prop bets here, those guys will try. You like over 1.5 bases, RBI props. September is a lot of money to be made at this point, but also keep in tension too. July and August, the dog days of summer, 85 to 90 degrees. It starts slipping in September. We got a game tonight, Kevin, in Minnesota. That's going to be 55 degrees with rain in the forecast. Welcome into September baseball in the northern states. You can still make money if you can look at the prop bets and understand those batters and those hitters, they're still going to be trying their best. But motivation on bad baseball teams with managers going, let me just get a look at the kid tonight, that'll destroy your bankroll.
Can you give me an overall outlook, Donnie, on the Houston Astros here? Because this is a team that I preseason took to win the American League. I thought the number was good. I think the number has since grown shorter. And I found myself often thinking that the books were not respecting their pedigree enough. This series against the Yankees has almost broke me. And I know it's a 1-1 split. Look, all fandom aside, the Astros in 3 straight home games against the Yankees team, come on, they're not world beaters. I mean, the Yankees are minus 130, minus 140 in almost every single one of these games. What do you make of Houston still favored to win the American League West?
There's still time. And when I say this, what do you mean, Donnie? They're going to make the playoffs, but you need to get those bats in order. What was it, the last weekend series or week and a half ago? They just couldn't hit the baseball 2 for 25 with runners in scoring position, like back-to-back nights combined. If they can get the hitting to come around, haters down, that's going to really hurt them. But that pedigree they had in the past where everybody was in their prime, Kevin, it's not the case. But you know as well as I do. Just get to the last few days of September, hitting the baseball, you have as good a chance as anybody. This is as wide open a Major League Baseball playoff that we're going to see over the past 5 to 6 years. I believe that. Who's hot at the right?
Still to come that you were circling up?
Yeah, there's a heavy favorite. Like Tampa should be able to rake tonight against Logan Allen. He's a left-handed pitcher. They're going to stack right-handed bats. He's terrible on the road. And then also take a look at Kyle Hendricks, the pitcher for the Angels. He's always a bad pitcher, Kevin, but even equally as bad on the road as he is at home. You should get Kansas City to hit as well tonight. And I would have loved to have taken the over in the White Sox and the Minnesota game. It's just too cold and the wind's blowing in with rain. If that was the midsummer, Kevin, 85 degrees and the wind blowing out, they'd score 12 runs in that game.
All right, so, that is a good reminder. Donnie was even telling me maybe some weather, quickly, Donnie, some weather concerns maybe in the football game.
Yeah, maybe some weather to start. We were expecting, Kevin, to have a drizzle maybe in the second half, but it looks like we might get impacted around game time. The worst case scenario, if you remember the last time the Eagles had that Super Bowl trophy presentation, we had the lightning storm against the Atlanta Falcons on that first Thursday game that delayed it. Don't do that, man. I've been up at 4 o'clock this morning, content all day long. I can't be up that late tonight, Kevin. I can't. Come on.
No, I don't think you will be. Donnie, we appreciate it. Again, the early line on SportsGrid, brand new, 7 a.m. start time. So make sure you are there with Donnie and Joe each and every morning. We are coming up against a commercial, but when we get back, a legitimately surprising and impactful inactive. We will tell you who and what next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college
what about
kids.
college basketball? Do those
they're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figure. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you here on Thursday night, the start of the NFL season. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, an 8 to 8.5 point spread, depending on where you are looking and shopping at this point and time. We will have you covered tonight all the way up until late in game. Live takes over where Scott Wetzel and Gabriel Morency will be giving you their picks, breakdowns, and they will be with you throughout the entirety of tonight's NFC East battle. You guys know I am on Dallas plus 8.5. I'm an Eagle fan. That's fine. But we got a job to do. And I believe we've got some money to make here on the Dallas Cowboys. I think they are the right side in this game. I think a divisional matchup to open the season is important, and I don't think should be hand-waved. We know how divisional games can get. And the Eagles last year, again, a Super Bowl champion who had an incredible season. The Philadelphia Eagles last year started slow in a lot of games. I think the first time they scored a first-quarter touchdown was in, like, Week 9 against Jacksonville. It wasn't their bag, right? So if this is a football game that is 7-3 Dallas at the end of the first quarter, that wouldn't stun me. And it doesn't mean the Eagles are it doesn't mean the Eagles are done, right? But it does mean that you've got a great chance to cover an 8.5 number. So I think we have a great chance to cover an 8.5 number with the Dallas Cowboys. But some of that will let you know why I am staying away from the total, the team total. Again, you will be seeing more sides this year from me, whether we're talking NFL or we're talking college football. And trusting that the point spread is the way to get involved with these games. And that is how we are going to get involved with tonight's game, where the Eagles are at home and will be dropping a banner with the Dallas Cowboys in town. And the Dallas Cowboys, for the most part, healthy in this game, but their inactives have a noteworthy name at the top of the list. Texas running back Jaden Blue, who we talked about very briefly here just a couple of moments ago. The Dallas Cowboys backfield is not one that inspires a ton of confidence. Phil Maffa, the Clemson back, who I'm sure plenty of you are familiar with, is injured and is a non-factor. Dallas, last season, was ridiculed, and really maybe for a little bit longer than that, for not addressing the RB room. They went to Tony Pollard coming off of an injury. He just didn't have it. Rico Dowdle, has not necessarily been able to, or wasn't able to really step up and be the guy. So now you get into a spot where Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and again, maybe the rookie Jaden Blue be the guy. It is interesting to me, though, for Dallas, again, unless there is an injury that I missed with Jaden Blue, and I apologize if so, but it is interesting that Dallas opts to go into this game with just 2 running backs at all. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, with Saquon Barkley in the front, will have 2 backs behind him in Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon. Clearly a lot of trust into Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. You could run to the Javonte Williams window. I'd be more interested in any Miles Sanders props that you can find. Because Javonte Williams is not going to, at least I don't believe, get full bell cow work. Javonte could certainly score, but so could Miles Sanders. And I think the Dallas backfield tonight now, which is going to be an interesting one to watch this season, but a really interesting one for us to watch tonight. Speaking of touchdowns, best bets in the touchdown market, it's tricky. You have 2 minus money favorites. That's Saquon Barkley. That's Jalen Hurts. The Saquon price bothers me every single game. That is never not true. Why? Because Saquon Barkley last year ran for 13 touchdowns. Great season. Jalen Hurts ran for 14 touchdowns. My point is, Jalen Hurts scores more often than Saquon Barkley does. And yet, right away, you see the number, and you're not getting as good of a number on Barkley. Even though you might enter a game like tonight, which I feel like I kind of do, thinking, Saquon's going to score. And I think he will, but I'm not betting him at that price. Hurts, by the way, the book's now in no capacity sleeping on when it comes to the touchdown scoring ability. Jalen Hurts the last 3 seasons, 13 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns on the ground. In 47 games, he scored 42 rushing touchdowns. That is a remarkable touchdown rate for the Eagles quarterback. So anyone backing those guys, placing them in parlays, I understand where you're going. But I think tonight, looking a little bit further down the board, and doesn't have to be way further down the board, but when we're dealing with, again, with week 1, when we're trying to get the rhythms of these football teams, that's what I would prefer to do. Kofsky's looking towards CeeDee Lamb. Makes plenty of sense. We've seen CeeDee have big touchdown seasons alongside Dak Prescott before. I'm interested in George Pickens. I think George Pickens is going to be a touchdown factor this year for Dallas. I think the Philadelphia Eagles against wide receiver 2s could be a target because they don't seem to be overly confident in their CB2 position, and they've talked a lot about Quinyon Mitchell traveling. It doesn't mean that CeeDee Lamb has no chance to go off, but it just means Pickens could present an easier opportunity and matchup. Simple as. And you're getting a nice number on George Pickens. So I think he's worth a shot here on opening night. Sam goes to the Dallas Goedert spot, which, again, I think is more kind of the same, right? Where even, hey, we don't know if Hurts is going to throw 1, 2. Wow, it would be surprising if he threw 3. It's decent plus money for Jalen to throw multiple touchdown passes. If he only throws 1, maybe it ends up going to Dallas Goedert. At 3-1, it's not a bad number. I loved Pat's Jaden Blue play. That bet ultimately is going to void. That's what it is. That's how much Jaden Blue was expected to play, though. The touchdown number was out there and available in the market. Ultimately, all for naught. Quickly to update you on the rest of the betting board tonight. Major League Baseball-wise, Milwaukee shut out by Philadelphia as the Phils do take that series against the Brew Crew. Trey Turner with an RBI single. Stott extended that lead a little bit in the top of the 9th there. You do have, so far, a scoreless start to Pirates-Dodgers. Again, no surprise with Skeens and Snell on the mound. You did see Pittsburgh threaten a little in the bottom of the first, but ultimately didn't materialize too much of anything. You've got a 7:35 Rays Guardians, a 7:40 Noah Cameron Kyle Hendricks matchup with KC booked as a favorite as they look to stay above 500. Minnesota and Chicago, as Donnie mentioned, and then this Astros-Yankees game where Christian Javier is a decided home underdog against Carlos Rodon and the New York Yankees. The Yankees lost last night, and quite loud fashion. A Devin Williams pitch that was a close call ultimately led to a walk, and then he was ejected, and then Aaron Boone was ejected, and then the Yankees all of a sudden took an 8-4 game and made it an 8-7 game off of a Cody Bellinger home run, and then Jazz Chisholm was rung up to end the game on a strike that was called that looked like a ball. If Devin Williams is involved, it never seems to be nothing, is what it seems to be for the New York Yankees. So that's where the baseball board stands. WNBA-wise, Washington catches plenty at home to Phoenix. Dallas catches even more on the road against Golden State. But the big one is Vegas and Minnesota, as the Aces put their 12-game win streak on the line against the last team they lost to. And they lost to by nearly 60. A revenge spot for Vegas as a slight 2.5-point underdog, where Aja Wilson will take one final swing at chasing down Nafisha Collier in the league's MVP race. Make no mistake about it, as Fee sits over -1,000 to win this award. If the Lynx win tonight, that's game over. And Fee, in a lot of ways, deserves it. But this march by Vegas and this march by Aja Wilson could hit an entirely different level if they stun the Lynx tonight here and get to a 13th straight win. Keep our eyes on it all. We get closer to kickoff. Eagles-Cowboys.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college kids.
College basketball? Do those
they're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Eagles for InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew, we appreciate you making some time during this incredibly, I am sure, busy part of the calendar for you. Can I start with because I think I've intentionally said defending champions 3 or 4 times, because you're around this team. They would say, stop saying that to me. They would say that's not a thing. And I'm just curious, from someone like yourself who has been around this group, what your takeaway has been from this mantra and idea that has been pushed out by Philly, that it is a new season. Who cares that we won the title last year?
Yeah, Nick Sirianni has really driven that point home. And it's not just Nick Sirianni, Kevin. It's prominent members of this team. It's Jordan Mailata, Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson. they want to move forward. They don't want to look backwards and reflect on the season that was. They want to really hone in on the details and try to build off of that and focus on what they can do in the here and now. And again, not live in the past. And that's something that when you hear prominent members like them speak about that, it really trickles down and it permeates throughout the locker room. So this is a really locked in football team. And regardless, whether it was OTAs, training camp, or even just recently, a couple days before the season opener, they've all echoed a similar sentiment. And that all starts at the top with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts.
And it's a team whose toughness is clear as day to see on the field, and a lot of that can be defined by their offensive line, and we saw it in the Super Bowl between Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson. And one of the probably the biggest question mark around Philadelphia throughout this offseason was the health of Landon Dickerson, one of those that popped up. The Eagles were lucky to avoid, a Rashawn Slater situation that hit the LA Chargers hard, but it looks like all systems go, which has to be a huge boost now for Philadelphia's offense heading into this game with Dallas.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, Kevin, the only player who's ruled out is backup quarterback Tanner McKee. Now, I don't want to just cast that aside. He's the number 2 quarterback, but to kind of put things into perspective, that is a healthy roster that the Eagles are taking into the season opener. It speaks to Nick Sirianni and his ability to get his team through what it was a very grueling training camp. He's very calculated in how he approaches it, but to get all the starters and prominent role players to the start line, I think that says a lot. But to your Landon Dickerson point, it was at the open practice that he suffered the meniscus injury. Didn't look good at the onset of it. And, a few days after having the procedure, he was out on the field during the joint practice with the Cleveland Browns, passing out Miller Lights to some of the Browns offensive linemen and some of the Eagles offensive linemen. That obviously indicated that he was doing all right. But Landon Dickerson he's as tough as they come. You can never put anything past him. And earlier in the week, he was sidelined, but it was with a back injury, which what we learned. But he's full go, and so is everyone else aside from Tanner McKee.
So if everything then is largely the same for the offense, right? There's always, a couple of changes. Mekhi Becton's in LA now and things like that. I think what a lot of people are interested in is how is this team going to really try to attack defenses? Because despite winning the Super Bowl, they were one of the defining storylines of the Eagles season was downplaying the offense, negative talk around that offense, and it came through the passing game. Jalen Hurts threw for nearly 1,000 fewer yards year over year. Some of that was missed time, but it was the design of this football team. Do you get a sense, Andrew, on if we might see this team throw the football a little bit more throughout this 2025 season?
Well, everything that, whether it's Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, who I do have pretty high expectations for, he's an impressive coach, at least everything that he said leading up to this point, they've all mentioned the word evolve. And that certainly wouldn't pertain to the running game. That would suggest that they're going to look to open things up in the passing game. And really, they have to in order to take that next step forward. I would imagine the teams are going to look to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley. The Eagles have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, who Nick Sirianni says time and time again, that's who the passing game runs through. I would expect Jalen Hurts to have more of a heavier hand in the aerial attack this season. And one thing I'll say about Jalen Hurts, this summer, I've noticed his willingness to fit the ball into tight windows, attempting passes that he probably doesn't even go to a couple summers ago. He's a lot more confident within the offense. He's carrying himself with a hardened resolve, and I can't wait to see what this offense ultimately looks like under Kevin Patullo, because Jalen Hurts, make no mistake about it, this is his offense.
And that, I think, is one of the most interesting things, when it comes from a general sense, right? But for folks who, bet on these games as well, they're 8.5-point favorites, right? Will they need to throw the ball? Well, maybe they'll just want to throw the ball. It becomes one of the most interesting things. Now, on the other side of the field, Andrew, of course, the absence of Micah Parsons looms large, but Dallas offensively still projects to be a very potent group. Dak Prescott went out there, usually can fill up a stat sheet. CeeDee Lamb is pretty consensusly regarded as a top 5 wide receiver in football. And I think there's a lot of optimism around George Pickens, who they acquired from Pittsburgh. What do you make of the challenge this Eagles defense, who lost a lot of pieces, will have on their hands going up against Dak and Dallas?
Yeah, and look, the Eagles have a youth-infused defense. They've prioritized building around its young nucleus. There's some moving parts there. At cornerback, too, you're likely going to see Adoree Jackson, who's played in the league for close to a decade, and Sidney Brown will be the safety opposite Reed Blankenship. So those are two newly minted starters. You couple that with some of the younger players like a Nolan Smith at edge, J-Wix Hunt at edge, who you asked me about the last time we spoke, Moro Ojima playing defensive tackle, who had a remarkable summer. And I'm looking at it in the sense of Dallas is going to really look to attack that second cornerback spot opposite Quinyon Mitchell, whether that's the newly acquired George Pickens or whether that's CeeDee Lamb. I would expect them to try to pepper that side of the field wherever Adoree Jackson is, and also the middle of the field with tight end Jake Ferguson. Remember, the Eagles are starting a young first-year linebacker in Jahad Campbell. He is a dynamic player, explosive, has the splash plays, but there is the inexperience that I think you have to take into account. So that suggests to me that Dak Prescott, a veteran quarterback, may look to take to the middle of the field and try to threaten that second level.
It is going to be really fun to watch these two teams battle it out. And not very often we see Dak and Hurts on the field, actually, despite being division rivals. Andrew, we appreciate you making time for us here right before the start of the NFL season. Best of luck throughout the year.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college kids.
What about college basketball? Do those
They're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Countdown to kickoff continues. We appreciate Andrew DeCecco joining us yesterday on GameTime Decisions, getting us ready for tonight's big game between the Eagles and the Cowboys. But it's not only one kind of football. If you are so inclined tonight, we have some world soccer involving still some big stars. A big star in his own right, that is, of course, Marcelino Ortiz, who helps us here get ready for all of these big matches. Marcelino, how are you?
Very, very excited. Happy to be here live from the Latin Nation Football Club studios. We come to you on SportsGrid every Friday, 1 p.m. with everything soccer related. And this weekend, we have a lot of games. Messi might be playing his last game with Argentinian team in Argentinian soil. and they are playing against Venezuela, who is fighting for their last chance to qualify to the World Cup. So we have big games, the same happening in CONCACAF, some MLS action, but a lot of soccer. I know most people is excited about the other football, but hey, guys, we have some good action coming on.
So, Marcelino, you mentioned this Argentina game, and again, this is going to kick off, if I'm not mistaken, in about 5 minutes from now. You mentioned all the emotions, though. I believe Messi is supposed to basically, anybody who is family will be there. I mean, I am sure this could be one of the hardest tickets to get because of what Messi means to Argentina. What do you expect from this match, which is, again, going to be starting very shortly?
This is going to be a great match. It's going to be very emotional, as you mentioned. There's going to be, the celebratory vibe to it because Argentina is already qualified for the World Cup. This might be the last official game for the team in Argentina. And so I expect Argentina to win this game. The expectation in the odds is the same. I think the score to expect is a 2-0 with a goal from Messi. But if you are a betting man and you want some excitement, I think that Venezuela brings something that people are overlooking, and that is that they are so close, the closest that they ever been to qualify to a World Cup. And I believe that this might be their closest opportunity. Sotelo, their top player, he's playing a really, really good level, and they might be able to have a spoiler. Now, it's going to be a monumental effort for the Monumental Stadium that this is going to be played at. But if you are willing to thrill it, I think Venezuela has a crazy good, over 1,000+ payout on that one.
Not starting too much later, if not at the same time, actually, is another World Cup qualifier between Colombia and Bolivia. What's on the line here, Marcelino?
Again, qualification. These teams are fighting for the last 2 spots available. One is a direct qualification to the World Cup, which I believe Colombia has the odds on their favor to beat Bolivia. But Bolivia, again, they need to win this game if they want to have any chance to go to the play-in against another confederation across the world in South Asia to see if they get their tickets. So their game is critical. Now, they are playing in Colombia. I believe Colombia is a better team. They have a better momentum, and I believe Colombia will score. The big bet for that game for me is the number of corners. The over I will go because Colombia is a very, very offensive team. Also, both teams to score because Bolivia is going to, again, playing with the knife between their teeth. So I expect them to be aggressive and to go look for an early goal right away.
All right. Now, the other, I believe, game we have involves Costa Rica. Marcelino, as again, it comes to World Cup qualifiers against Nicaragua here. And where are you seeing some value on maybe a tighter matchup than the two that we've prior talked about?
Definitely a tie is a bet to make on this game. Costa Rica is a very, very well-known World Cup participant. They were able to make it to the semifinals not too long ago, about 8 years ago. But the reality is that right now that squad is not playing well. In the other hand, Nicaragua is one of the surprises of the region. This team has been growing consistently for the last 6 years to the point that now they are in the final stage of qualifiers. They're playing at home, and they might be able to play the upset. I believe that it's very hard because Costa Rica is a very well-experienced team, but the draw, because they're playing at home, is very possible, and I'm going for that.
All right, Marcelino, before we let you get out of here, the LA Galaxy, you've talked about it, the fall from grace that not many saw coming. They match up against the Dynamo in their next fixture in this weekend.
Right now, Galaxy is motivated. They just came from winning a 3rd place on Leagues Cup, which allows them to participate in CONCACAF. So the tides are shifting for the LA team, and I believe that they will go to Houston and take the win. Also, one of their forwards, Christian Ramirez, is a former Houston player, and he will love to score against his former team. That's my bet for this weekend.
Marcelino, we appreciate it, as always, getting us ready for the other football.
You guys have it every Friday, you know it, here in Latin Nation Football Club, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll give you everything that you need to know to do educated guesses and even better bets on soccer. Thank you for having me.
Thank you as always, Marcelino. We get back to the NFL next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college
what about
kids.
High school, college basketball? Do those
They're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime Decisions here with you on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. We continue to get closer and closer to the start of another NFL season. We talked at the start of the show, we saw a 7.5 out there in the market. That is gone. More 8.5s, pretty much a balanced mix of 8.5s and 8s. It's incredible to think that if Micah Parsons was a Dallas Cowboy, this is probably a full 1.5 lower, making people decide on the 7. That, again, assuming if Micah Parsons was a Cowboy, he would actually be playing in this game and not nursing a back injury. But instead, Parsons is a Packer, and the defending Super Bowl champions are over touchdown favorites against their rival in the Dallas Cowboys. I've said my piece. You guys know I like Dallas. I like Dallas when the schedule came out, and I had a feeling that the Eagles were going to be big-time favorites, because tonight, a rarity. Dak versus Hurts. Despite coexisting in this division for so long, we do not see these two QBs at the same time. And if that is going to be the case, I don't think either should really be a touchdown favorite over the other. So here we are, a Philadelphia Eagle fan backing the Dallas Cowboys. Some of you might be shocked. Our next guest will not be, because he knows me very well, and he knows this league very well. That is, of course, Mike Blewett, who leads the ship during NFL Sunday in-game lives right here on SportsGrid, with that coverage beginning just a couple of days away. Mike, how are we feeling?
Can't wait. Obviously, I'm fired up for tonight. I didn't realize the Eagles had won last year. It's been so long. I tend to forget details like that. But congratulations to you as a Birds fan. I'm sure you're excited about tonight. I will say that we are on opposite sides of this game. I understand the rationale completely. I think in these early season games, we don't have any trends to go off of. So we are really trying to read the tea leaves and how this will play out. You're presuming that Dallas is maybe being underrated to an extent, especially in a divisional game. I'm concerned about a team reeling from a coaching change that I think was to the negative, a talent pool that is clearly to the negative. They do get Dak Prescott back, and I think a lot of Dallas's numbers, when you look back at them last year, are influenced by Dak Prescott's absence for half the season. But I have to wonder what the mentality is of a team that just traded their most talented player. There was a situation like this, albeit with a totally different type of team, that Brian Flores Miami Dolphins team, that first team that he took over, they jettisoned a lot of players right before the beginning of the season as they were turning over that roster. And Baltimore came in and beat them by 6 touchdowns. I'm not saying it's going to be like that, but I have to wonder if Dallas takes a while to get their feet under them as they try to compete this season. I like the Birds tonight, and I bet it up to an alternate all the way up to 13.5.
One of the beautiful things about sports betting is two reasonable minds can take the same situation and see it so differently. Not that I need to say this because it should be implied, but I will say I respect anything that Mike says. Mike and I have worked together for a really long time. But I'm really glad that, Mike, you brought up the mindset of Dallas, because that's actually a part of my cap going the other direction. I think Dallas at some point quits on the year because Parsons was traded, because I don't think they're going to be good enough to withstand loss after loss, and at some point they'll realize that they were put up against it before the season began when their best player was traded away. But I actually think night number one, you still kind of get that prove them, show them, we can get it done. We love Micah, but we don't need Micah. We're still NFL players. Kenny Clark's a guy. Lamb is a guy. Pickens is a guy. Dak is a guy. I think that there should at least be, Mike, a 3 to 4 week window here of belief for these Dallas Cowboys.
Totally fair. I will say that the market is betting a lot of unders tonight, especially on props. It seems like the market is against where these lines are set. So CeeDee Lamb unders, and I looked at the CeeDee Lamb numbers, hit this 71.5 yardage total in half the games he played with Dak last year. Same with the receptions. So the one over that's been consistently been bet is the Saquon Barkley carries total over 18.5 being bet pretty consistently. So I think the Eagles take the air out of the ball a lot here. I don't think they'll give Dallas too much room to work. I'm worried about Dak being able to stay upright for a lot of the game. So again, I'm with the Birds. I understand your point of view completely, and I think it's entirely plausible. I'm just going to go the other way on it because I think the Eagles play a very no-nonsense type of football that shouldn't get them tripped up on a night like tonight. I don't think Jalen Hurts will be firing away on a game like this.
Mike, I'm going to ask you a lot about some of the stuff coming up this weekend, but you mentioned kind of Hurts and you know it well. Hurts was one of the stories of the offseason, right? Where, in a somewhat of a quiet summer, you know what, guys, let's rank Jalen Hurts today. What do we say? Who wants him 5th? Who wants him 12th? Who wants him 9th, right? I find Jalen Hurts, though, to be one of the easiest cases to make from a betting angle in the MVP market. He was 20-1 on FanDuel. That number's actually been slashed down to 16-1, a lot more in line with probably where it belongs. But you know this. Best quarterback, best team is one of the easiest pathways to earning league MVP. And I'm not saying the Eagles are a shoo-in for best record. It's going to be hard. We know it's hard to repeat in the NFC East. But Jalen Hurts, again, just a couple of hours ago, was double the number of a quarterback in his own division in Jaden Daniels. I think Hurts does have a legitimate shot at league MVP this season. What do you believe?
So I agree with the reasoning completely, and I think there's a path, and I am an advocate of taking some shots in these markets because the price may not get any better than it is right now. But I will say that his challenge, despite what you say being true about best team, best record, and the quarterback on the team with the best record, if he's able to accomplish that, he's in the mix. But Saquon obviously takes a lot of attention away from that. Offensive Player of the Year last year, he touches the ball so much that it can split votes and can take the shine off of Jalen Hurts. I'm glad you brought up the ranking situation. I've said to you many times, as you get a little bit older, these things start to matter a lot less. And I can tell you, as a Steelers fan that watched Ben Roethlisberger win 2 Super Bowls, he didn't get any credit for being the shepherd of that team and being amongst the best quarterbacks in the league until really well after that era. It was considered to be the defense that got him there. And once Roethlisberger started putting up real stats, they never won again, but he started getting the credit that perhaps he was due, having played like a championship quarterback even early in his career.
I think for Hurts, so it can go both ways, right? In that, if it does look similar to last year, Hurts will actually, even if the Eagles could be 5-2 and Hurts will get crushed a little bit if it looks similar to last year. I think, Mike, if it looks a little bit different, if we do see an uptick in passing, I think then it could go the other way, where people actually fall over themselves to say, look, he's gone to another level. And I think that is on the board still for a young quarterback. A really, really fun game starts this season, and it is a fun next few days of football in Brazil tomorrow. Some good college, of course. But on Sunday, I think one of the treats of the year, Aaron Rodgers returning to the scene of the crime. Oh, and Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson on Sunday night. We'll talk to Mike Fluid about that next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live with you here on SportsGrid on a Thursday night. Game Time Decisions, countdown to kickoff rolls on. 15 minutes, it's in-game live. It's Scott Wetzel, it's Gabriel Morency. They will have you covered throughout the entirety of Eagles-Cowboys. On Sunday at 1 o'clock, it's that bad man himself. It's Mike Blewett alongside Scott Wetzel. Have you covered for the 1 o'clock games. Mike Blewett has been dominating the in-game live space here for SportsGrid on Sundays. And Mike, you get what is, no irony, not tongue-in-cheek, one of my favorite games the NFL has put together. To Week 1, hey, we want them all out there, baby. Rodgers versus the Jets. Every time I look at this game, forget it's Justin Fields versus the Steelers. With respect to the former first rounder, brother, you are storyline 7 in this game. And the first 6 are Rodgers. You get the point. Mike, what do you expect with the Steelers in some spots now creeping just below that field goal favored on the road?
Yeah, I think historically, the Steelers don't play well in these markets where they are favorites, road favorites. They tend to play tight games a lot. I would say, as a fan, they play down to their competition a lot. I think on paper, the Steelers are clearly a better team than the Jets. You can poke holes in the Steelers. I tend to think they have a lot of variance this season. So I think the Rodgers experiment could go well for the Steelers, better than it did for the Jets last season, and the Steelers can be up in the double-digit wins. I think it could go horribly wrong because Aaron Rodgers is going to be 41, and he may not last the season, and all the things that you can say negatively. So I think there's a lot of variance in this season. The Jets just lost another offensive lineman. There are people out there trying to be positive on the Jets, and Kev, honestly, I just can't find it. I don't care what the preseason games look like. I think they've put together this coaching staff with this QB and this group of players. I appreciate the way they operated with Wilson and Gardner and giving them extensions to make them the cornerstones of the team. But do you feel like the Jets really added a lot of talent to transform them from where they were a year ago? I just think this is a team. They have a chance, puncher's chance this weekend. The Steelers are going to play a very conservative brand of football this year. That's what concerns me the most. I think Arthur Smith has proven that he wants to run it. I think Caleb Johnson gets a ton of carries this year. They've got 3 legitimate tight ends on the roster, and I think they're going to utilize all of them. I think you'll see 13 sets from the Steelers at times this year with 3 tight ends in there. Not great for DK Metcalf fantasy owners, but I think it's really conservative. I think the Steelers are going to end up playing a lot of tight games. It concerns me because they went 10-0 in one-score games last year. That's not going to repeat itself. That's my biggest concern. Yeah.
Now, come on.
I think so.
Can't be. By the way, that's not me actually thinking that Mike's wrong.
Yeah,
that's
I think
just.
so. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they had an unusually successful one-score game.
Didn't they only
record
win
last
10
season.
games? I mean, I'm sure it's not. Again, even if it's not, I mean, it can't be far off, right? Like, what a group. That's Mike Tomlin, baby. That's Mike Tomlin. Yeah. Now, Mike,
scraped out a lot of wins.
On Sunday night, again, I know you're handling the 1:00 window, but Sunday night we'll all be watching. It's the Ravens and the Bills in Buffalo. From a futures market perspective, you will find these two teams at the top. I think it is. What do you make of Baltimore being booked as a favorite in Buffalo? Does that warranted based on how good the Ravens are? Is it disrespectful to Buffalo? Where do you land on that, Mike?
I think it is so tight. I don't have a strong feeling of it either way. I think it does say a lot about how the market sees the Ravens this year as real challengers to the Chiefs. And as a Steelers fan, it pains me to say I do have Baltimore in the Super Bowl. And I am one of the people that was standing on my desk saying, I'll bet against the Chiefs when they finally lose. And I should still be saying that, but I'm going to pivot a little bit. I just think the Ravens played so well in the back half of the year last year. I'd give them no excuses for the mistakes that Lamar and that team made when they played Buffalo in the playoffs last year. But I do think they've done enough to improve the team in the offseason. I think the offense was way better. The defensive line and the offensive line played really well in the back half of the year last year. Almost all of that talent is back. And I think the Ravens are going to be right there, winning a tough division. And I think they end up getting that bye, which will be really important for them.
It's one of these spots, Mike, I'll tell you, where, look, we all do our work and we get our assumptions, but, I think for, at least in my opinion, and, in the line of work that we are, numbers have to matter. The Ravens were going to be one of my favorite sides of the weekend. I'm not betting this team as favorites in Buffalo. Do I think Baltimore is better than Buffalo? Yes. But unless you're telling me that we are done with home field advantage as a concept, which I don't think we are, then this is, I know people, there are other people who will be like, come on, Kev. So if it was 1.5 Buffalo, you don't have a problem? Yeah, that's 3 points. That's 3 points. 1.5, 0 to 1.5. Do the math. That's a field goal. It has to matter. It matters to me. And it is remarkable to see this game priced the way that it is. And it is one of the reasons why one of the reasons I was very strongly considering Baltimore as my Super Bowl pick, because it does not seem that there really are many situations where this team won't be booked as a favorite. But another reason why Baltimore did not end up my Super Bowl pick, because you are paying a price that it just feels top of the market. How do you argue it should be shorter? And that's why I stayed in the same division. And if you didn't hear it yesterday, or you missed it on the Kevin Walsh show, as we break a bit of news to Mike Blewett, Cincinnati Bengals. My, oh my. How lucky are you? How lucky are you, Cincinnati? On a 1-year streak of picking the Super Bowl winner correct, Cincinnati looks to make it 2 for 2. We set you off at In-Game Live next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college
what about
kids.
High school, college basketball? Do those
They're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
At the moment, you will not be able to do a bet on the television set. However, Emily made it very clear that's what we ultimately want to do, and we may do it sooner than later, where you will be able to put a sports bet on the service through your smart TV set with your remote control or with your voice, especially if a service like Alexa Plus, which is scheduled to go on Amazon Fire TV sets and other smart TV sets, actually happens.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you. It is In-Game Live in just a couple of moments. We are joined by Mike Blewett, which is always a treat. Again, Mike Blewett will have you covered 1 p.m. here Sunday on SportsGrid for In-Game Live, the best coverage during the biggest games, with Mike Blewett, joined, of course, by Scott Wetzel. We have a couple of orders of business here, though. Want to send you off with anything that we like tonight, but also you have to get your Super Bowl pick out now, okay? Listen, like, you can say, hey, in season we'll find some value, but if you're making a Super Bowl prediction, your hand's got to be off the chess piece. And I've clearly stunned a one Mike Blewett by letting him know I am in on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I will make my case, but just let the people know, Mike, who are you picking to win this year's Super Bowl?
I have the Ravens. I'm waffled between the Eagles and the Packers on the NFC side. I kind of like the Packers this year, but the Eagles, I just think that their schedule is set up for them to win the division. I think like the reasoning that you were making earlier for Jalen Hurts and MVP, I just think they're going to rip off a lot of wins. They play a winning brand of football. I think there were times last year where we're like, geez, this team late in games concerns me, like the Rams playoff game, but they brought it home in a huge way, and they ended up on the whole being one of the best teams in the last 25 years. I think that there's a chance that defense is actually improving. I don't know that Zach Bond has an all-pro season again like that, but DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell have another year of experience, and DeJean didn't even play the whole year last year. So I guess they lose Milton Williams, but I don't really consider it a massive loss considering the depth of talent on their defensive line. And even though they're banged up a little bit, that offensive line really brings it home. I think you have to be mindful of the fact that Saquon touched the ball so much last year. Can he hold up to that kind of workload? That's why I think somebody like Will Shipley is pretty interesting to keep an eye on. They obviously signed A.J. Dillon in the offseason as well to perhaps bolster the sheer amount of carries that Saquon has seen over the last year plus. But I'm going to go very chalky this year. Baltimore and Philly look pretty good to me. I think the Packers have a real shot here, though. I love the addition of Parsons, and I think they got better during the offseason even before that trade.
Yeah, look, for me, Mike, I understand. Listen, those teams are favorites for a reason. Price is going to influence a decision here. And the reality on the Cincinnati Bengals is I don't need to sell you on the offense, right? Every single question around this football team is the defense. The reality is, even with last year's terrible defense, they needed the inverse of what your Steelers got, which was some one-score game luck. They lost 3 games to the Ravens and Chiefs by a combined 5 points. 5. Less than 2 a game. But what about the idea of the defense getting better? Well, I believe it. Why? They added more guys. Shamar Stewart's a round 1 talent on the edge, who now plays next to Trey Hendrickson. 2 guys that 2 months ago, I didn't know if either would be on the football team. They both are. Oren Burks, a Super Bowl champion, steps into the middle, lets those guys know a little bit about winning, plays next to a rookie in Demetrius Knight, who they took in round number 2. And I think Lou Anarumo was a good coach. I'm not even necessarily telling you that Al Golden is a much better coach, but sometimes you need a fresh coat of paint, and former Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden provides that. And this is one thing you know for a fact, Mike. Defenses sometimes exist in weird variants where teams can stun. 2 years ago, the Eagles' defense was atrocious, and then it was the best in football. So everybody asks the question, well, what if Cincinnati can get the 20th best defense? I'll ask a bolder question. What if they get a top 10 defense? Then what? Well, then they should probably be 10-1. Half around the number of what we're seeing Cincinnati out there in the market. Mike, you and I will simply have to do this again because we have to let the people know what we're betting tonight. Mike and I just so happen to be on opposite side. Mike makes the case for the Philadelphia Eagles. Fair is fair. The most unbiased man in the history of sports media makes the case that the Dallas Cowboys at 8.5 are getting just too many points in a divisional matchup where the Cowboys, I think, try to make the point that just because Mike is gone, it doesn't mean the season is over, even though the season is obviously very over. Casino Chris goes to CeeDee Lamb and Devonta Smith, 60 for Lamb, 40 for Smith, and a little wide receiver 2-step there. Yarnese rolls with the Cowboys team total. Don't mind the look, 19.5, 20 will get you to the window. And Pat, on a very happy birthday to both Pat and Sam, goes to the New York Yankees. Despite, by the way, Pat being an Eagle fan, he goes, you know what? Nope. I do what I want, and I'm going to the Yankees in a matchup with the Houston Astros, which is live now. If you wanted some prop looks from me tonight, even though these will get thrown in no sweats and parlays, I like Pickens over the 55.5. I do think there's some juice on Devonta Smith at 55.5. Dak on the ground, 5.5, 7.5, depending where you look. Prescott might scramble a little bit more this year. His final game before injury last season, he ran for 30 yards against the Falcons. Thanks to everybody who's joined us. Eagles, Cowboys, in-game live is next.